From the PEP Radio Newsroom, this is the morning news for September 16th, 2025. These are the stories we are covering. An appeals court ruled Monday that Lisa Cook can remain a Federal Reserve governor, rebuffing President Donald Trump's efforts to remove her just ahead of a key vote on interest rates. The Trump administration is expected to quickly turn to the U.S. Supreme Court in a last-ditch bid to unseat Cook before the Fed meets. And Cook's lawsuit seeking to permanently block her firing must still make its way through the courts. The White House's campaign to unseat Cook marks an unprecedented bid to reshape the Fed's 7-member governing board, which was designed to be largely independent from day-to-day politics. No president has fired a sitting Fed governor in the agency's 112-year history. The ruling comes just before the Fed's interest rate setting committee begins a 2-day meeting Tuesday. Meanwhile, the U.S. Senate has approved a White House economist to serve on the Federal Reserve Board. The Senate approved one of President Donald Trump's top economic advisors for a seat on the Federal Reserve's governing board, giving the White House greater influence over the central bank just 2 days before it is expected to vote in favor of reducing its key interest rate. The vote to confirm Stephen Miran was largely along party lines, 48 to 47. He was approved by the Senate Banking Committee last week, with all Republicans voting in favor and all Democrats opposed. Miran's nomination has sparked concerns about the Fed's longtime independence from day-to-day politics after he said during a committee hearing earlier this month that he would keep his job as chair of the White House's Council of Economic Advisors, though would take unpaid leave. Senate Democrats have said such an approach is incompatible with an independent Fed. Meanwhile, at a press conference on Monday, President Donald Trump was asked why he ordered flags to be lowered to half-staff after Charlie Kirk's killing, but not after the fatal shooting in June of Minnesota state lawmaker Melissa Hortman. He responded by misstating what occurred. The president suggested to reporters in the Oval Office that he might have ordered flags lowered following the fatal shooting of State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband and their dog, which is not mentioned in the Associated Press copy, but their dog was killed too. But Trump went on to say that Democratic governor, Minnesota governor that is, Tim Walz, never asked him. Had the governor asked me to do that, I would have gladly done that, Trump said, except that's not what happened. At the time, Trump said that he didn't want to speak to Walz, suggesting it would waste time, and referring to the former Democratic vice presidential nominee as whacked out and a mess. And finally, the Trump administration Central Human Resources Office acted illegally when it directed the mass firings of probationary workers as part of President Donald Trump's efforts to downsize the federal workforce, a judge has ruled. U.S. District Judge William Alsup of San Francisco said Friday in awarding judgment to a coalition of labor unions and nonprofits that the U.S. Office of Personnel Management unlawfully exceeded its own powers and usurped and exercised powers reserved by Congress to each individual federal agency to hire and fire its own workers. He said the government disagrees, but does not persuade in its defense that the office did not direct employment decisions, but merely offered guidance to other agencies. Judge Alsup's decision makes clear that thousands of probationary workers were wrongly fired, exposes the sham record the government relied upon, and requires the government to tell the wrongly terminated employees that the Office of Personnel Management's reasoning for firing them was false, said Everett Kelly, national president of the American Federation of Government Employees, in a statement. And that's the news at this hour. If you're watching our news videos on YouTube, please be sure to subscribe to our channel. PEP Radio is now available on the PEP Radio page at paequality.com, the Live 365 app, Roku, and Alexa. Up next, we have the Meadville area weather forecast here on PEP Radio.